Hey there folks, Happy New Year, we're in it, 2022, and welcome to episode 25 of the Free Your Spirit podcast. In this week's episode, we're actually going to talk about how we see ourselves determines what's possible for us. And I felt that this is just going to be a pretty juicy episode for us to dive into as we're in the beginning of 2022, especially for those of our listeners and viewers. You know, if you have a big goal and dream, or if there's a promotion or career that you want to go after, or maybe you just want to change your life in extraordinary ways, then this is going to be a great episode to listen to give you some tips and tools, strategies to support you in boldly going after your big goals and dreams. Alrighty then, let's dive right in. Yay! So, diving right in, how we see ourselves determines what's possible for us. And this is such a powerful thing to know and understand, but also to learn and embody. And you know, for many years, it took me many years to fully learn this lesson, that how I see myself determines what's possible for me. Many years, too long in fact. It's probably, I was in my mid-30s before I really and truly got this lesson and started to make better choices and decisions, and to be a lot more bold and fearless about how I saw myself in the world and what I saw myself capable of. So I'm excited to dive into this topic and this episode, because being at the beginning of 2022, if you have a goal, if you have a big vision, if you have a dream, whatever it is, I hope that this episode will inspire you to just go for it. Go for your dream, go for your big goals and dreams. Just say, screw it, I'm going to do it. All right, so let's dive in. And I want to begin by talking about sharing with you my own personal journey in learning this lesson and embodying it in my life. And I was 20 years old when I had that first, when I learned it. I didn't understand it, I just learned it. It was an observational thing, because what happened for me was I was 20, it was my final year at university, and in those final years, all these recruitment bodies come round and they're interviewing, you know, soon to be graduates for their internships and all of that. And so Marks and Spencer's, I don't know if any of you guys heard of that company. They're very big in the UK. They actually expanded, you know, overseas. I remember I remember them being in Paris when I lived in France. And I think they were in Canada too when I first came here. But I loved Marks and Spencer's and I wanted to work for them. And they came to our university and they started interviewing. Oh, there was a process to be interviewed to get a job with them. So I got through the first interview when they came to the campus. I got through that first interview, and then there was a second interview where they actually took us away to a hotel. It was a weekend deal. And they were really like scrutinizing us. So what happened was that, you know, I was 20 years old. I didn't really have the clothes for this kind of interview. So the girl in my hall of residence, she was a couple of years younger than me. And she said, "Oh, don't worry, Louise, you can borrow some of my clothes." And I'm like, there is no way that I'm going to be able to squeeze myself into, you know, get into your clothes, because she was, I would say, 4 or 5 sizes smaller than me. She's like, no, you know, come to my room and try them on. And I was stunned, because when I went to her room and I tried these clothes on, they fitted me because they were my size. They were 5, kid you not, 5 sizes bigger than her. But here's the thing, this was the first time when I actually saw how this young woman saw herself very differently. She saw somebody, perhaps when she looked in the mirror, that was 5 sizes bigger. It was a very big eye-opener for me, because I saw a different person. And so going on now, that was the first time I realized this, just realizing that was more just about perceptions, how we see ourselves. Then I went to the interview, and it was a weekend long thing, and they had all these tasks that, you know, working in teams where you had were given these marketing tasks and strategies and tools and things to do, and you had to work with your team. You were given randomly split into groups. And the thing is, I aced every single task that I was given, because that is one of my strengths, one of my superpowers. And I knew that at a young age, at 20, when I was working in that interview, high stress environment. I can see people, I look at people and I can see their potential, I see possibility. And this is why I love the work that I do, because I see that for my clients. I see their potential, I see possibility, I see what's possible for them, and I cheer them along to get there, and I help them to remove the roadblocks that are getting in the way. And usually those roadblocks, it's fear, or it's something that's unconscious to them. But getting back to the Marks and Spencer interview, I was able to ace it because I could see with the people around me what their gifts were and how I could use them in that particular situation to achieve the things that we had to do. So I aced it. Then there was one final exit interview where they were just talking to you one-on-one. And I was nervous for that because there were some things about myself that I wasn't comfortable with, that I didn't feel that I could do. And a big block for me was math and finance and the whole thing. And I was afraid that if I got the job, if they gave me the job, that I would find myself in a situation where I couldn't do certain things, and that would be very stressful for me. So having a sense that I may likely, if I ace this interview, I would probably be offered the position or a position somewhere in the country. When it came to that interview, they said to me, what's your biggest fear? And so I thought to myself, I'm going to be honest, right? Because if I'm honest and I tell them that I'm a little nervous about, just a little bit nervous about, finance and that kind of thing, then at least if they give me the job and I screw up, then it's not really my fault because I told them, and they knew that it could possibly happen. And so, of course, I told them that. And of course, guess what happened? I didn't get the job. Of course I didn't, right? They're not going to employ somebody that doesn't believe in themselves, doesn't think they can do it. And this is a pattern that went on in my life. Again, coming back to that thing of how we see ourselves determines what is possible for us. If I had just gone for it, screw it, I'm going to do it, I can do this, I'll figure it out, everything's figure outable, then maybe I would have been in a stressful situation. But what the heck is the point of going for a job or doing a job that you can already do standing on your head? That doesn't leave any room for growth at all, right? So again, anybody that's listening to this that is thinking about going for a promotion or whatever it is, or something that's outside of your comfort zone, I would highly encourage you to just go for it, do it. Because what happened to me was that the next decade and a half, I watched people get promoted over me because I wasn't willing. I was not willing to stretch myself. I wasn't willing to get uncomfortable. I wasn't willing to feel the fear. I had to know with absolute certainty and clarity that I could do any kind of job 100% before I was willing to take a chance or a risk and raise my hand and said, I'll go do that, right? And there's a wonderful book that talks about this. It's called The Confidence Code, and I'll include the book in the authors of that book in the show notes. But when they were talking about, and this is especially true for women, that if there's a job posting that comes up, that a woman is more likely to feel as though they need to know or be able to do at least, like, I don't know, if I forget fully the statistics, maybe 90% of the job description before they would even apply, whereas guys would probably do 75% would do the trick. That was, so it just goes to show probably what happened, how maybe guys are wired differently. But I think we can rewire ourselves. This is the work that I love to do with my clients. And getting back to that whole idea of how we see ourselves determines what's possible for us in another job, like maybe 10 years later, once again, I found myself in this position, and it was related to finance, where this position came up and it was for finance manager. And at that time, I was working for the University of London, and we were doing, we were tasked with It was all of Southwest London. I worked with the postgraduate dean of medicine, and at that time, medical doctors in training were doing far too much service work, like on the job work, and not learning, doing the training. They were fulfilling a service, but not getting the training necessarily that they needed. And they were working way too many long hours. So the dean actually had responsibility and control over 50% of their salary. And so that's what we did. We monitored hospitals in training in Southwest London, and we could pull the salary of those doctors in training if we felt that the hospital wasn't fully meeting the training requirements for that doctor. So it was really a way, I guess, of being able to encourage those hospitals to make sure that their training was delivered for the doctors. So the job for finance manager came up, and what is wonderful is that somebody that was quite senior in that organization approached me and said, Louise, I think you should apply for that job. And I'm like, no. I was so far off my radar. I couldn't do that job. No way. And so I didn't apply. So she could see what was possible for me, but I couldn't, or I was too afraid to see it. And what happened was a guy came in, 20 years my senior, into that job. And the thing is, he had all the spreadsheets and all of this, that, and the other, but he needed the figures. So I was giving him the figures that he then put into a spreadsheet. So in many ways, you could say I was already doing a lot of the work, right? And so again, this is why it's so important. It's so important how we see ourselves determines what's possible for us to really lean into and be a little bit more courageous and more fearless in going after some of our goals and dreams in our life. So I continued to plinky plonk along, and maybe a couple of years later it was that I moved to Amsterdam with my husband. Those of you that know me know that at that point I had this sort of deciding incident where I separated from my husband, and it changed everything in my life, because when you feel as though you've lost everything, you have nothing left to lose. And so now I'm finding myself in a situation where commuting 5 hours a day and desperately wanting to have a job that is in central Amsterdam so that I don't have to commute. And I remember applying for this position at Greenpeace International. It was for an administrative position, and I was overqualified for the position, but honestly I was just like, I've got to get back to central Amsterdam. I don't care, I just need to not be doing this commute. So I applied for it, didn't hear a thing. Probably 6 months passed, and then I got a job to work for a company called Michael Page, and they were a recruitment finance consultancy company. Look at how I was constantly being moved in the direction of finance. These opportunities just kept coming my way, and I kept pushing, the big opportunities away because I just didn't think I was good enough. So now I'm actually responsible for recruiting chief financial officers in major corporations. I think it was Sony and also Cirque du Soleil. We're talking big organizations, and I'm now screening candidates for those roles of the chief financial officer for these big companies, also accountants and so forth. And so it was really good for me because it demystified finance for me. Suddenly I saw these people in these really, what I thought, lofty positions, just being ordinary people, just like me. And so when Greenpeace International, the head of personnel, rang me up out of the blue one day to say, we got your CV for this job, but we didn't get in touch with you because you were overqualified, but we would like you to come in and talk to us about this finance manager position that is coming available. We don't have a job description yet. Come in and have a chat, right? Again, see the pattern of finance. So I went in to have a chat, and they just asked me what I wanted. And at that point, I was very clear what I wanted. I wanted responsibility. I wanted the opportunity to expand and grow. And my belief systems had already started to change about what I was capable of doing. And I remember the personnel manager smiling, and she just said, "This is perfect. When we have a job description, we're going to be advertising it, and you clearly have the abilities. I'd like to invite you to apply for the position. Give it a go, apply for it." And so the position was advertised, and I did apply for it, and I got it. I got the job because I went into that interview with the belief that, you know what, even though there's parts of this job that might scare me, parts of this job that I'm not even sure I can do, I know I can figure it out. And it was so exciting that I got the job. And a lot of people that knew me and also knew Greenpeace, you know, the fact that it was quite pretty amazing that I even got that position, but I did, and I'm proud of myself for getting it, and I did an incredible job. I can say that. But what I want to say here is that I started to believe in myself. Again, coming back to how we see ourselves determines what's possible for us. So if you have a big goal and dream, or you want to change careers, how you see yourself, what you believe about yourself, what you believe is possible to you is going to determine what's possible, what you can do. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we have is that oftentimes, you know, the limiting beliefs or the fears, they're kind of invisible to us. They're unconscious to us. They're buried. And so that's why I love to do this work with my clients, to help them to see the blocks, the things that are preventing them from having what they truly want, to coach them, to really allow them to, I love to see my clients and coach them and support them in really stepping into embracing their fullest, greatest potential, because there is nothing better and more that lights me up and lights my clients up, and I would imagine listeners, viewers watching this would light you up when you're fulfilling your deeper purpose, when you're doing what you're meant to be doing, and it feels so good. So I just want to say that I'm just going to check my notes here because there's so many things that I wanted to talk to. But if you're listening to this, watching this video, 2022, we're at the beginning of the year. I really just want to cheer you on and encourage you to go for those big goals and dreams, whatever it is that you want. I truly believe what is dreamt by you, what you have, what you feel inside of you that you want to do is meant for you, because it's coming from a deeper place inside of you. And the more that you can lean into that, lean into your intuition, your spirit, your soul, you're going to be guided. And know that even if it's scary to go after that big dream, you have everything you need inside of you. You have the spiritual guidance. You've got your spiritual team, your ancestors, guides and guardians that can absolutely support you on the way. And you also have access to some pretty incredible talents and gifts that you may not even know about, because they come from your past, their past life or ancestral gifts. And once you do the work to kind of discover those, you can activate them and you can leverage them in your everyday life. And this is the work, again, that I love to do. It's not just about healing the past and letting go of the invisible blocks. It's also about activating all of the good, amazing qualities and gifts that lie dormant within you. And this is why, like, if you're 2022, if you want more of the same, then you don't need a coach. But if you have a dream that feels impossible, that's when you want a coach to be there to support you in going for those impossible goals and dreams, because a coach can help you see your blind spots and can help you navigate through them, can cheer you on and help you to get where you truly want to go. And just to say, a fun analogy really is that just recently had a lot of snow here. I've been trudging around in my rubber Wellington welly boots, and just the other day actually I was digging through my wardrobe and I found this gorgeous pair of boots that I bought in London probably 5 years ago. They're like my kind of biker chick boots, but they've got like the faux fur on them. They're fun, funky, very practical. And I'm like, whoa, I'd forgotten I had these. I love them. Put them on, feel great, so good. And I feel that it's the same, you know, with the gifts that we carry within, that gifts from our ancestors, gifts from our past lives. We have to dig deep. We have to do the digging to get to those gems, to get to the gifts, and to start leveraging them, using them in our everyday lives. I did that just recently with my wardrobe, did a bit of digging, found some awesome boots, and just a fun thing really. It's just fun to do this work because we find things out about ourselves that we never even knew. So just to conclude, you know, I just want to wish you in 2022 all of the best, that your greatest wonderful wishes, goals and dreams come to fruition. And I'm cheering you on along this on the sidelines here. And if you want to get in the trenches with me, I do that too. I work with my clients. You know, I have a group coaching program, Freedom Now, where I support my clients in, you know, removing all those invisible blocks, the deep subconscious beliefs at a present life, past life and ancestral level, to support them in manifesting their greatest wishes and dreams. So just remember, how you see yourself determines what's possible for you. So start dreaming big, seeing it's possible, leaning into your infinite self, because when you consciously connect to your infinite potential, anything and everything is absolutely possible. And that is my wish for you in 2022, that you start to manifest those wonderful goals, wishes and dreams. Alrighty folks, thanks for hanging out here. I love connecting with you in this way, whether you're watching me on YouTube or whether you're listening on the podcast. So grateful for our community, so grateful to be able to connect with you, and wishing you all of the best. Alrighty, I shall see you in the next episode. Bye for now.